I'm Stephen Foskett, founder of Gestalt IT and organizer of Tech Field Day, and we are here in San Francisco for Pure Accelerate 2018. I am joined by a very familiar face to those of you who watched Tech Field Day. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Matt Kixmoeller, head up product marketing solutions at Pure Storage.
So Matt, you've been involved with basically all of the announcements from Pure for years now. And there you were on stage yesterday making yet another announcement that kind of dovetails in with what we've heard in years past. Tell me a little bit about FlashArray X and Evergreen and what that means for Pure and Pure customers.
Absolutely. Look, so much of this year reminds me of the early kind of 2013-14 era of the all-flash revolution, if you will, because Pure had gotten out early with this idea of the all-flash array, and many of the incumbents were a little slow to get on board, and if they were really positioning flash as this high-end exotic thing. And so when we came around, we democratized flash, and we made it our mission to really enable the all-flash data center with FlashArray, 5+ years ago. Same thing's now happening with NVMe, where NVMe has hit the scene. I think everybody understands and believes it's a great idea. It's just a matter of making it a mainstream technology so everyone can quickly adopt it. And that's where our DNA comes in. That's what we do at Pure. So last year we first announced FlashArray X, the FlashArray X70 at the high end of the market. That was the world's first all NVMe enterprise array. This year we're back and essentially bringing the X architecture across our entire product line.
Yeah, there was kind of a clue embedded in last year's announcement when you called it the FlashArray X.
70, exactly. Right, so this year we have an X10, an X20, an X50, a newer X70, and an X90 at the top of the heap. And they can deliver, all NVMe, all flash storage, ranging from 15, terabytes at the low end all the way up to 3 petabytes in the X90. But the key thing we focused on is really using our technology to democratize it from an accessibility point of view, and ultimately that means price. And so one of the things we announced yesterday was we eliminated the premium between X and M, and so this is the main product we sell. We're introducing it to the same prices as M from last year. The way we can do that is our direct flash architecture. Direct flash is all about moving beyond kind of dual ported SSDs. We source raw NAND and we interface it directly with our software, the Purity operating environment, to manage the NAND globally. We call that concept and that architecture direct flash, and it enables that entire value prop.
So it's essentially what you're saying is that you get maybe less margins on finished products because you're able to source the NAND, to build it into your system knows how to deal with the NAND, and then you can deploy that more cost effectively, but also you have data reduction that helps you, and I believe that there's improvements there as well this time.
Absolutely, improvements on both fronts. So, our first mission is just to make the best use of flash, and so we source raw NAND chips. Purity manages them in totality, and we make more use effectively of those chips. If you look at traditional SSDs, every single SSD is over-provisioned. So you have these little pools of over-provisioning, tens or hundreds of times within an array. We don't do that within FlashArray X. All the raw NAND is seen by the system, and we only over-provision once. And as these systems have gotten bigger and bigger, our software has also got more efficient at using the flash, and so the net is we just make great use of it. In this version of the Purity operating environment, Purity 5.1, we also make improvements to the data reduction technology. A new compression engine, for example, delivers about 20% higher compression, and so all these things together just make this eminently affordable.
Yeah, and then the other thing I think that's interesting is I was talking to some of the engineers here yesterday, and they pointed out that these new FlashArray X, it's really an evolution from M to last year's X to this year's X, and there's a lot of kind of swappability and on the fly upgrades. It's not like a forklift change for customers.
Yeah, it's a great point. So one of our beliefs at Pure, I call it a religion, is evergreen storage, and the whole mindset from the early days of Pure was we wanted to get out of this cycle of a 3 to 5 year array refresh where a customer had to buy a new array every 3 to 5 years and then go through the pain of moving their data and migrating it between arrays. It was just too costly. And if you look at the all flash world, flash was changing so fast. If we only built a product that could get better every 3 or 5 years, we'd just never be able to innovate fast enough. So from day one, we built an architecture that was incrementally upgradable, where every year we ship new controllers, every year we ship new flash, and you can take advantage of those easily. That became really profound in this generation because we're making this major transition from SAS backend networking to NVMe, and we're doing that all non-disruptively. And so if you look at our competitors, some of them have come out with NVMe products. Once again, brand new arrays, whole new thing to buy, move all your data over, forklift upgrade saga again. For us, we had the insight that NVMe was coming when we first built the M chassis over 4 years ago, even before the standard was finalized, and we built in the wiring to be able to handle NVMe right within the base chassis. And so all the M's that are out there today can upgrade non-disruptively to NVMe, and they can do so in a way where they don't even have to throw away their existing flash. We can just begin adding new NVMe flash to the system and incrementally move to NVMe, as opposed to make it a big, painful, and expensive upgrade.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that when that the NVMe wiring is in there. So that's the back end, and you're also talking about NVMe over fabrics on the front end. When are we going to be able to see that?
Yeah, absolutely. We did a demo of MongoDB, a kind of next-gen database running on NVMe over fabrics at the show here yesterday. That's something that we're going to be bringing out via software upgrade later this year. And the exciting part about that is it really helps servers in the array connect faster. If you look at the overall problem, though, end-to-end, about 80% of the latency in a storage transaction is on the array side. So that's why we worked first on bringing NVMe to kind of the back end of the array. And now we'll complete the picture with NVMe over fabrics on the front end.
Well, NVMe over fabrics is something that's also still in the process of being finalized and standardized. And so, it's challenging. It would be challenging for you to roll that out to customers quite yet. But I think that it's definitely, this is the year when there are going to be proof of concept, when there are going to be initial products, there are going to be initial configurations. I was talking to Dennis Martin from DeMartech, and he's got a deployment guide that he's working on. So I think it's really happening.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that you guys are basically ready to be the array portion of NVMe over fabrics.
Absolutely, it's certainly happening, and I think one of the things that we tried to make clear at the show here this week is you don't have to wait. It'll come over time. That'll make things even better. But the move to NVMe with FlashArray X on the back end has huge advantages today. And one of the use cases we really tried to highlight this week was consolidating DAS infrastructure. If I look at a lot of our customers, they have their classic business applications, but they're starting to deploy web scale applications on-prem. Could be analytics, could be scale out databases, et cetera. And today, most of those applications kind of want to be deployed on servers with cheap disk inside. But that architecture gets really unwieldy at scale. And so the NVMe over fabric kind of movement has opened people's eyes up to the fact that shared storage can serve those workloads really well. If you look at FlashArray X, even over standard iSCSI or fiber channel interfaces, we can now get latency as low as 250 microseconds. And so, look, when NVMe over fabrics comes later this year, it'll get a little bit faster, but there's no need to wait. You can start with that, and even on the standard interfaces, it could be game changing.
That's great. I want to hit one more thing quickly. At GTC this year, Pure and NVIDIA announced a combined box. We're actually standing in front of one right here for AI workloads. Tell us a little bit more about this and about the couple of announcements that we saw yesterday relating to AIRI.
Yeah, Stephen, as you mentioned, so at GTC, we jointly announced a new solution with NVIDIA called AIRI, AI Ready Infrastructure. And the goal of AIRI is really to simplify a world-class AI infrastructure for data science teams that are just getting going with AI. It basically bundles the NVIDIA DGX server so you can bring GPUs to the equation with pure FlashBlade. And FlashBlade as a scale-out, unstructured data storage device is really designed to have the power and the parallelism to feed those GPUs constantly with as much data as they can take to stay busy. The whole goal of this solution, though, is to really make it simple for people to get going. And so if you think about maybe a new data science team that wants to get involved in AI, they can get going with what we announced at the show today, which is the new AIRI Mini. And the AIRI Mini is the smallest configuration we offer for AIRI, which is 2 DGXs plus the smallest FlashBlade available. And that's a great starter spot, but the great thing about AIRI Mini is it's not at all a compromise. It's just the starting building block. As you add DGXs and add more blades to the system, it can grow into the biggest AIRI system out there.
So because it's a scale-out system, and FlashBlade absolutely scale out. The DGX, you can add more and more of these GPUs.
Exactly.
And networking, that's networking.
Exactly, yeah.
And then the other thing that you talked about, previously you had announced a infrastructure stack with Arista networking switches. Now you've announced a Cisco networking stack as well for folks who prefer to use Cisco networking.
Yeah, absolutely. So as part of this announcement as well, we broadened AIRI's support for Cisco so you can have a full Cisco stack. And part of the work we're doing with AIRI is to really build it out with 100 gig Ethernet. If you look at a lot of the first generation of AI clusters out there, they were most often built with InfiniBand. And that's great, it kind of shows the supercomputing heritage of AI. But as AI comes to the enterprise, InfiniBand is just not that well known in the enterprise. So we wanted to show that you didn't have any compromises by moving to fast Ethernet 100 gig with Rocky. So that's what we proved and qualified with NVIDIA, and now we support both major switch vendors. We also had another announcement with Cisco at the show around FlashStack, where we have the first flash stacks that feature FlashBlade that are going after data warehouse type applications. And so if you think about the entire data pipeline from a data warehouse on through to a data lake and eventually to AI, now we have Cisco powered solutions with FlashBlade across that whole journey.
Thank you very much for watching this discussion here and for joining us here at Pure Accelerate for our keynote live blogs and this video series. If you'd like to see more videos like this, go to YouTube, search for Gestalt IT. I've got some more conversations from Accelerate as well as other similar conversations and videos. If you look in your favorite podcast app, you'll find our on-premise IT Roundtable podcast, and we would love for you to subscribe to that as well. Thanks for watching.